There was a comment in my previous video called I Sold My Studio about me mixing Mike Teezy's Around the Corner in headphones. So I'm just responding to that. So I'm going to show you the process from start to finish. Why it's absolutely important to session prep to get the best sounding mix possible that no one ever really talks about. We'll go from me opening up the original session that I got to my own personal preparation that is about 60 to 80% of the mix, and then that final 20% that it takes to take the song to the next level. So if you're wondering if it is possible to mix and master completely in headphones, you're going to want to stay tuned. So here's the original session, completely untouched by me. And what you see here is the original settings that he had, my process for scanning through, keeping or taking out specific elements, and other adjustments that I do before the prepping stage. Originally, these ad-libs were part of this auxiliary of background vocals. And I separated that because I like separation from the main lead vocal. I want to separate it from the background vocals and separate it from the ad-libs, because certain spikes when you're mixing, especially with the compressor, when a compressor is going and you have a spike in the ad-lib that's playing right here. I'll zoom this in right here. I'm not gonna play it right now, but if this theoretically and was under the same auxiliary as this, so if this ad-lib was under the same auxiliary as the background vocal, when this vocal plays and it's louder than these overall and the compressor hits, it's going to squash everything right here and make this more apparent. So that's why I like to separate everything as much as possible and bring it down to its own auxiliary so you can control the dynamics appropriately while you're going through and mixing the song. So a lot of people just put everything under one auxiliary and it just doesn't work that way. Same thing with, you know, kicks and snares. There's some people that make one drum auxiliary and they run their kick, snare, hi-hat all through one. And I like to separate those as well, because what if you have a kick and snare that hits at the same time, and then you have a compressor that's trying to control the dynamic? What you're gonna find out for yourself, and you can test this out for yourself, one sound will be sacrificed for the other. So the kick might be more prominent than the snare when it hits at the same time, or vice versa. So you don't want to do that. You want to be able to separate your bus groups as much as possible. Quick tip. So I'm going to play the song from start to finish so you can hear what was original, and then you can compare it to the final that I play at the end.
This fight can make you so tired, so tired. When you're weak, can make you stronger. Yes, you are. You've been waiting for a long time, long time. Don't give up, I know you wanna. Your blessings right around the corner, around the corner. I toss and turn and I've been having sleepless nights. The fight inside my mind done got intensified, but I know every single time, so sublime, you come through for me. Yeah, yeah, this ain't new to me. Oh no, when my friends all leave, you stick like glue to me. Right by my side, don't get weary. You're doing well. I hope you hear me. I tell, hey, that you're almost there, you will prevail. Don't give up, the fight is fixed, you gon' win. You gon' win. Take the towel and wipe your face, don't throw it. Don't throw it in now. It's right around the corner, you just don't know it. Just don't know it. Just don't know it. This fight can make you so tired, so tired. When you're weak, can make you stronger. Yes, you are. You've been waiting for a long time, long time. Don't give up, I know you wanna. Your blessings right around the corner. When you're weak, can make you stronger. He will. Don't give up, I know you wanna. Don't give up, just hold on a little longer. Your blessings right around the corner, around the corner. This fight can make you so tired, so tired. When you're weak, can make you stronger. Yes, you will. You've been waiting for a long time, long time. Don't give up, I know you wanna. Your blessings right around the corner, around the corner. Don't give up, don't get weary. the corner, hope you hear me. Don't give up, don't get weary, cause it's right around the corner, hope you hear me.
So next is the session prep part, and I spent about 60 to 80%, give or take, of the time to work on the song. So sometimes I go straight into the final mix afterwards, but if it's something complicated that needs more creative brain power, I separate that last leg into another day or some hours later. And it all depends on the complexity of the song, really. One thing that I'll note is that when you're competing with other major label mix engineers that are working for major labels, the mix engineers have a team of assistants that do all of the dirty work, which is what I'm about to show you right now. And as I've said before, there's many ways to get a song finalized, thousands of ways to dial in a vocal, an instrumental effect, what have you. But what is singular in pattern is that mix engineers always have a team of assistants that are part of a major record, and they always do most of the heavy lifting, setting specific levels that the major engineer likes. They'll import stems, they'll dial in vocals, they may mix the vocal, they'll clean up the vocals, they'll clean up the instrumental, they'll dial in effects. They damn near mix the entire song. And then the main mix engineer, whose name you've already have heard of or know, comes to finalize that last 20% of the song, and they reserve all of their creative juice to bring out the best song possible. And you may be wondering, shit, that's not fair. Why would somebody pay this main engineer $2 to $5 grand on one mix? And they're only doing less than half the work. You know, for one, they earned that spot, so you can't argue with that. And they started out just like anybody else would as an intern, and they worked their way up through assistant engineering all the way up to main and lead engineer. And these assistant engineers have worked with the main engineer for years to learn and adapt to what the lead engineer likes the most and what they're known for. Sometimes assistant engineers may bring their own flair, their own taste to the song, which earns them the right to be the assistant engineer on the song, even though a team of engineers collectively worked on it. The main engineer gets their credit as the lead, but the others still get listed as assistants. So that's why the credits read out like that on your favorite record. And if you ever looked on there and wondered why. And while wondering why, ask yourself why you haven't liked this video and subscribed to the channel yet if you haven't already done so. So this is the session. It may look the same, but I assure you it sounds and looks totally different. Most of the time I clip gain line and I leave the faders alone. So you see in this instrumental right here, it used to be at 0, but I clip gain everything down to -13.5 and then just only raise this one specific sound in the instrumental, which is a vocal sample, up just about a little bit. I'll explain that a little bit later. And then I do a lot of clip gain line stuff here. I do some melodyne work. I'll do some cleanups here and there if I need to, like de-clicking, de-clipping, de-plosive, whatever it needs to clean up the vocals. And then, like I said, I separated these background vocals from the lead and also separated from the ad-libs. And you may be wondering why I didn't separate these yet or ran these through an auxiliary. I'm not focused on that. In this session, I'm mainly focusing on gain structure. So when I set my levels with the VU meter right here, I then import this whole session into my template, and it almost immediately gets to the final loudness and sound that I'm looking for, and then I'm just dialing in creatively from there. So I'll clean everything up like an assistant engineer, doing all the dirty work, which is what I walk through from top down. So when I'm mixing in headphones, I'll set the VU meter up, and originally it was the SonarWorks plugin, but now it's Sound ID reference. So I will select this here, go search, Sound ID reference plugin. This is my specific setting for my HD 650s for me. It may not work for you because I like my EQ curve a certain way. So to explain this a little bit better, I'll select it before and take all of this off, right? So before, this is the actual curve of the HD 650s in particular. So once you do the calibration, this is after, where it kind of boosts everything that has been cut originally on the headphone, and then it will subtract whatever's boosted and try to make a flat response. and that's what I'm going for, right? So after that, you'll see the target. Take this off if I can. See if this looks a little bit better. So the target is this, right? And then these little subtle moves that I have right here as I'm boosting up a little bit more of the bottom end, cutting some of this like 150 to 200 hertz level very, very slightly, and then I'm very subtly, and then I'm adding a very slight shelf to the top end of these headphones. So that's the target. So again, before, after, and this is what it looks like. And then I have a dry wet knob of 76 because I still want to have the characteristic of these headphones because I like them. I like how they sound from the top end all the way down to the mids. And then what I didn't explain last time is I have a SubPac. It's sitting right behind me. You can't see it right now, but it's sitting right behind me. I have my headphones plugged into that. And then I have my Grace M900 headphone amp that runs the sound out into the SubPac, and then from the SubPac into these headphones, and that's how I get the accurate bass response. And you can't just go out there and buy a SubPac because they don't make these anymore. So you'll have to reference when you are mixing in headphones. And what I mean by that is having several different listening devices to be able to verify what you're listening is true. Once I load that up, then I load my Can Opener Studio, which I talked about before. And I had a comment on TikTok where somebody asked me about Headphone Lab. Headphone Lab, from what I'm seeing, I've never used it, but Headphone Lab is supposed to do this type of job. But Headphone Lab is only specific for Bayer dynamic headphones. It's not for, you know, a wide range that Sound ID Reference can accommodate. So if you have DT Pros, whatever you're using Bayer Dynamics, and it works for you, then it works. It's all about preference. So once I set that up, I'm basically trying to hit this level right here when I play the song. You're probably wondering, like, man, why does it sound so low? Took off all the effects. And then I disengaged a lot of the chain that he had in the vocals. You'll see that there. I'm just trying to hit 0 on this VU meter, basically -18. So that's what I do mainly, get to that level, and I start with the instrumental first, where I'll go to the strongest part of the song, mute everything out, play where the drums are, and even before I start, I set the tempo to 120, which is already set to it already. So once I set my instrumental how I want it, then I start dialing in like nuances of the vocals. I might clean it up, like I said, declicking, declipping, deplosive, melodyne work. There's some spots in there where I had to correct some notes. So that's the original line of how it was before, but it's just small little nuances of tuning the vocal. And this little piece right here, I would basically separate this. There's other little spots that I do that I might fix. So if we go to the end, it might be a very minor thing where it's off key for like one part of a syllable or half a second or a millisecond, but it's really important because I think of things in two different ways. I think of a mix in a simple term and a very micromanage complex term. When you're a listener, you just want to hear a song and see if it feels good, if you like it, whatever. Subconsciously, the micromanage part comes into play where the listener might not understand why they don't like a song. They don't have the language to say what throws them off about the song. It might be something very simple like that note being off. And I do think that's very important as a mixing engineer to be able to dial it in and be able to think in two different ways, on a simple level of a listener and then the micromanaged complexity of a mixed engineer to be able to fix small little nuances and little tidbits of a song like that. It might not mean anything to you, but these assistant engineers are combing through every single little thing to make the song sound as best as possible. They're not leaving any stone unturned. Rap stuff is a lot more forgiving. We might not take out breaths like in the rap songs, but in songs like these, you might subtract or eliminate the breaths in between takes. A lot of little small stuff. If you want to see and learn more of how I go into a deep dive of cleaning up vocals, cleaning up instrumentals, check out my reset course. It's down in the description below. You're going to see everything from start to finish, down to the Melodyne parts of how I tune vocals. And this is a very, very easy song to work Melodyne on. There's other songs where I've had to completely reconstruct from scratch, like they were off totally out of key, and Melodyne is there to just, it's a job in itself. Man, I don't wish that on anybody to work on Melodyne, because you had to work on every single syllable, every single word nuance. It might be a pitch, it might be the tone. You have to separate, and it can be a big headache. But luckily Mike is pretty talented to not be able to have to work on it that crazy. Melodyne stuff is there. I'll separate, and I brought up these background vocals up a little bit more to kind of envelop and lift the main vocal. I play with separation a lot, and with these ad-libs I also separated with a spread plug-in by DJ Swivel and an auto pan to where it'll move from left to right. It just is a supporting cast to the main lead, right? So the main lead is center image, background vocals are surrounding, and then we have an ad-lib that is tucked under all of that, and it's spread out, and it's just sitting there as support where you can still hear it. It's not in the way, and it's centered, but it has a width to it to where gives it a nice separation. And that's the goal of mixing, to be able to separate everything, to be able to hear everything as much as possible.
Yeah, we can make you stronger.
Pan, ad-lib.
I know you want it. Your blessings right around the corner, around the corner. I toss and turn and I've been having sleepless nights. The fight inside my mind has got intensified. But I know I'll be alright, 'cause every single time, so sublime, you come through for me.
With this instrumental, I didn't touch much of anything. I just brought out this main vocal sample right here.
Been waiting for a long time, long time. Don't give up, I know you want it. Your blessings right.
So it might be a very small detail, but it's boosted up damn near close to where the lead vocal is, but it deserved to be heard because that gives it an emotion, a feel to the song that would not be there if it wasn't there.
I can make you so tired, so tired. When you're weak, can make you stronger. Yes, you will. You've been waiting for a long time, long time. Don't give up, I know you want it. Your blessings right around the corner, around the corner.
So it's a very minor detail, but it's important, right? So just like down to the specific syllable of Melodyne, all the way down to separation of ad-libs, all the way down to separation of auxiliaries, spread, stereo width, auto pan, little simple tricks like that. It's important on every step of the song and every section of it. So here's the final right here. And what I usually do, same thing as the session prep. I'll engage the sound ID reference, set my preset up, open up Can Opener Studio 3, and I start dialing in the song. I start with the instrumental first, and most likely I will mute out the music first and focus on the drums. And as you remember, I had it set to 0 or hitting 0 on that VU meter. So when I upload it into my own template, it's knocking already. Of course, this song is finalized and I've mastered it how I want to. I got the God particle right here, made some adjustments there. And then I ran it through a few other things. This Pham, this is like a harmonic saturation type of plugin that just made it louder overall. I have a mastering EQ where I made some adjustments pretty much on the harsh parts and some taking out some muddiness here and there. And then I'm running it through this Ozone 10 and I adjusted the threshold there. I got this set a certain way, and I usually have this on -5, but I changed it because it was already giving me a lot of loudness from this plugin specifically. And then I reference. I might load in different songs. Originally it said Mike Teezy refs, so it had a bunch of songs that I had already mixed in this adapter metric AB plugin, and then I'll just AB it as I go. So I start off with the drums and it's knocking already. So with the SubPac, I'm feeling the bass on my back. And a funny story is that, like, if I'm tired or something like that and I'm mixing a song, it's like this SubPac is giving me a massage in my back. Pause. And I get relaxed. I might doze off, fall asleep here and there. It's happened before. Just it's a small, funny little tidbit, but I just want to mention that. But it's helped me engage. It's helped me to gauge the 808, the drum, the kick, the knock of the kick accurately, and it's assisting these headphones, right? So I did some separation with this sound, specifically in the low perks. And so what I did right here was on this low perk, I engaged this Satin plugin to taper off that pointiness of the sound. So I'll take off everything that I did and play the original sound ran through my template. As you hear right now, it's just centered. It's kind of dry, not doing much. And then I'll engage everything that I did. So all of this combined gives it a specific vibe. So like I said, I'll disengage this again. And the Satin plugin, if you hear it, the knock of that low perk, that it's too pointy in my opinion. So the Satin plugin is a saturation tape machine plugin where it'll carve off some of that top end just slightly, very slightly, and just gives it a softer feel, and it just feels better and sounds better to me. Engaged. Off. On. Very subtle, very subtle. Could I use the EQ for it? Possibly, but I just like how this plugin sounds, so that's why I used it. So I'll start engaging this RC20 retro color plugin. Gives it a different vibe. Give it a wobble. Add a stereo effect to it and some magnetic flutter, wow effect, and it's giving it some space to the sound as opposed to just a dry, nothing centered sound, right? And then I add this Valhalla Vintage Verb plugin where it just gives it a little bit more vibiness. It's like a little ping to it, like a slap delay in Verb. Hear that? You keep playing it. You add the other drums in. And how did I know to get to that point with that specific sound? If you play it by itself with the rest of the drums, kind of gets lost, right? So, and then it's in the center. So I need to make space for the vocal. So I need to push that to the side. These are the auxiliary instruments that are supporting cast to the drums. So the drums, it's just a kick in there, and there's no snare, there's no rim or anything. It's just, you know what I'm saying? So I need that to separate. And then give it some vibe with the slap back type of verb delay stuff that's in there. And then you start adding other things in, like the 808s here. Well, I add that in last to illustrate that further later on. So let's see, we have synth, vocal sample, keys. It's not much. Not much to do there. So let's see what I did right here to the actual vocal sample itself. So I added a dirty tape plugin and a gate. I will say this dirty tape plugin can make noise. So if I unengage this gate, you may or may not even hear it. But it makes a sound on there that's just kind of annoying, and it's like a white noise sound. So keep that in mind whenever you use this plugin. But this plugin, let's see what it's doing here. Let's unengage this and play this by itself. This is the original sound. This is with it on. So it dirties it up, you know, it takes off some of that top end. I'm giving it more of an analog feel. It's bypass. So the decoupled stereo mode is kind of like, it just moves, you know, left and right a little bit further. So it's centered, but then it's part playing with some phase, and it's just decoupling the left and right channels to where it sounds like it's moving this way, right? Image wise. It's a very small detail, but I need that separation from other sounds in this instrumental to have it, to give it space. So we start adding everything else in. Let's add the vocals in.
Every single time.
I'll add the 808s in later because that's still dominant for the 808s and bass, but I'm focusing on everything else first and then dialing that in later.
Don't give up, I know you wanna. Your blessings right around the corner, around the corner. I toss and turn and I've been having sleepless nights.
So this is my vocal chain, but I changed this RVox out with the L Ray 2, but this is basically everything in that I usually use every time. I've added the Spirit plugin to give it some separation and the vocals, stereo separation there too, and some plate reverb on there as well. Some small EQ moves on here, but it's just a lot of throws just to give it, you know, some emotion. And when I think about delays and effects, it's just giving more emotion to the song and translating what he's talking about to the listener to give it a certain feel and a dynamic that would make the song memorable.
I toss and turn and I've been having sleepless nights. The fight inside my mind, I got intensified. But I know I'll be alright, 'cause every single time, so sublime, you come through for me. Yeah, this ain't new to me.
So you hear different throws, delays, effects. They might be the same timing, but they sound all different. There's some that's panning left and right. There's some that's a delay, but carved off on the top end. So I'm always looking for separation stereo-wise within a mix to spread out the song, make it sound wide, and give the song a lot of depth. Every song doesn't need that. It's not always called to do all this crazy stuff to it. But for this, I did think that different speeds of throws. This is a fast one where
I
Fight. So, you know, you're probably wondering, why did I just accent a very fast delay on those specific words? When he's feeling something, he's tossing and turning, and you know, all this type of stuff. I do that later on in the song. It's not much, but it's just little accents of the song. All these throws and delays are not constant. It's all building up to certain spots of the verses, the hooks, the ending pieces. When you go back on Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you listen to the song, you'll understand like the song has dynamics. It's moving, always moving, and it's imitating life, as you can say. So we'll add in the 808s now. So there's delays right in this section of the background vocals. Don't get weary. I hope you hear me. That you're almost there, you will prevail. Don't give up the fight, it's fix you going. Take that time and wipe your face, don't throw it. It's right around the... You're probably wondering, like, why not just add delays through the whole song? It doesn't call for that. You know, you want to be dynamic. You want to be very specific and very direct when you're bringing in specific elements. These background vocals that are coming in periodically during the verse has the attention. That's the supporting cast right there. So why would I add the delays right here? Don't get weary. I hope you hear me. That you're almost there, you will prevail. It's all about if there's space for that effect. You don't always have to just turn it on and let it ride. You have to use your judgment, and that's why people work with me based on my taste. That's why people work with each other, because they like what they do. So luckily, Mike Teezy trusts me completely when it comes to mixing a song and bringing out the creativity on my side to make the song as best as possible. So if you enjoyed this video, please check out Mike Teezy's album that just dropped called Chameleon that I worked on, mixed and mastered the entire project. It has features from Erica Campbell from Mary Mary, and also Kiera Sheard. Christian hip hop is a wave right now. I'm very blessed to be a part of it. Comment below, give me some topics to talk about, like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.